the title of this book, because that's the thing that's probably going to grab people the most: how I accidentally became a global stock photo. We obviously cannot talk about every story in the book, and we want people to read all of them, but this is the one that we cannot ignore. So you one day participated in a photography project, and you thought it was an art project. You had your photo taken, and in exchange you got, I think, 1 or 2 free photos. And then years later, something strange happens. Tell me what it is.
Well, Andrea, about 2 years later, someone in Canada, a friend in Canada, sent me a photo on Facebook and said, "Is this you?" And it was an advert from a newspaper, and it was me advertising for immigrants, welcoming immigrants into the country. And I thought, what am I doing in this advert? Why am I in this advert? And already, like, people were commenting on Facebook saying, "I think it is her. It does look like her." And then another friend reminded me and said, "Doesn't this look like the photo from the photo shoot we did about 2 or 3 years ago, And that's when I realized. And so I reached out to the photographer, and the photographer said, "Yeah, you all signed a document, and I sell these photos now as stock photos." And there's an option on Google. I don't think many people know, but you can take the photo and upload it onto Google, and then reverse search that image and see where it pops up. And so I did that, and I was just horrified because my face came up in adverts all over. I was like in carpet cleaning adverts, and acne adverts, and adverts with little pop-up bubbles saying that for makeup tutorials, and leading treks in Cambodia, and teeth whitening. And it was just crazy. And I mean, I was shocked, but I thought, oh, I was just silly because I'd signed this document and I thought it was for his portfolio. Like, at no point did anybody say this was going towards a collection of stock photos that was going to be sold. And and then I started finding photos where they changed my name. And so they would use pseudonyms saying, "I tried this product and I tried that product, and I was pregnant, I had this acne, and I tried this product." And then I was on teaching websites, so my name was changed with different degrees, and foster kids that I taught, and it got really crazy after a while. Um, and that's when I approached the photographer and said, like, "You need to take this photo down, like, and these things are happening." And he said, "You'd signed a clause that said the right to change, names and alter the picture." And basically, I'd given this photo away without knowing it. And it was at McDonald adverts in China and Singapore and India. And so, eventually he took it down. I said, as an author, you can recognize my face, which no one really recognizes an author's face, but I just felt like I had to use it as leverage. And I mean, eventually that I shared it on Twitter a while later. And that's kind of when the story went viral. So people were just like horrified that this could happen to anybody, because it can happen to anybody. And it went on to CNN and BBC and CBS and, India and Australia and Canada. I did like radio interviews in Ireland and Denmark. And people were just horrified. And so I kind of give my side of the story in this, how did I accidentally become a global stock photo? Because the story went out of my control, and I always felt like I needed to take back control of that story somehow, eventually, at some point.
You were actually called by the one journalist, I think it was, the most interesting girl in the world at that point in time. What did that feel like?
I, I talk about in the book how I have like an anxious disposition. So I suppose maybe somebody else would have thought, "Oh, this is so exciting," but for me, I was just like, it's too much attention. It's too much attention. I can't deal with it. So when I heard, it was a Canadian radio producer, before I could go online, she was like, "They're calling you the most interesting girl in the world." I was just like, I can't handle this. I don't know, like it's just too much attention, and I don't know what to do. I just was going through it like through a blur. And like when I wrote about it later on, I could see how I was feeling and actually process it. But at the time, I didn't know what was happening. I was just doing interviews and feeling overwhelmed.
A lot of the book is about having adventures. You write, I think it's in the introduction, that when you step off the edge, anything can happen. So tell me more about that. Where did this sense of adventure come from? Because I think you write as well that initially that wasn't sort of a natural thing for you.
Yeah, it was confusing because when I was young, I'd been reading so many books and reading about, the magic faraway tree and the Narnia and all these lands. And I was like, oh, the world is so exciting and there's so much to hope for and so much to see. And I think and then my grandfather would tell me stories as well. He'd gather all these grandchildren and tell us stories about princes and the prophets. And so I had that sense that there was always something waiting out there, and I just had to get old enough and then I could go and experience it. So I think that created the spark for wanting to go out and have adventures and experience life. But there was also those expectations to be married and have kids and live a traditional life. And so it was a struggle kind of between those two things for me, because apparently they didn't go together, in my understanding growing up. And so I had to kind of fight for it. And so when I talk about the edge, coming to your question about the edge, it's almost you going off that path that people want you to take and that people keep telling you to take. And so people will always tell you what to do and people always have an opinion. And it's hard because also I'm a people pleaser, So it is hard, but also it's so liberating when you go and do something for yourself and when you fight for yourself and when you try. And so for me, that edge was this unknown place off the path, where you wander and it's scary and you don't know where you're going, but it's also so beautiful because you've chosen to go there. And so you see strange and wonderful things on that side and it's so terrifying, but you also kind of get a stronger sense of self when you reach that place. And that's one of the most amazing things, to find your own self, yeah.